Which gospel should you read first? The odds are you won't be turning to the Gospel of Mark. That's because, in contrast to Matthew, Luke, and John, Mark has so little to offer. It's the shortest gospel by far, only 16 chapters. By word count, that's about half the size of the other three. And even the stories Mark tells are nothing special. 90% of them are found in Matthew's gospel, and 40% are in Luke. So if you read Matthew and Luke, you pretty much have Mark. But contrary to what you might think, Mark is actually the best place to begin reading the Gospels, because Mark was most likely the first gospel written. The substantial agreement between Matthew, Mark, and Luke, known as the Synoptics because they share this remarkable similarity, indicates that one or more of them copied from one or more of the others. And in almost every instance, Matthew and Luke appear to build on Mark's foundation. Mark's fewer stories, for instance, suggest that Matthew and Luke added to it. Think about it. Which is more likely, that Mark cut stories and sayings of Jesus that he found in Matthew and Luke, or that he added stories and sayings that Mark didn't include? The same is true for Mark's poor writing style and harder sayings. Mark uses colloquialisms, Aramaic terms, the original language of Jesus, and the redundancies where Matthew and Luke do not. Mark also records apparent limitations of Jesus' power and repeatedly emphasizes the stupidity of the disciples. Matthew and Luke, by contrast, are much more positive and thus appear to both improve and soften their source. All this means by reading Mark first, you'll not only understand where, how, and why Matthew and Luke add their unique spin to Mark, you won't find Mark redundant or stale by comparison. By reading Mark first, you'll encounter this story with the freshness and distinctiveness with which it was meant to be read. See you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. I remember the first time I read Mark, I had just finished Matthew and thought, didn't I just read this? Well, this is just one episode in a series on understanding the Gospels. In the next episode, we're going to tackle Jesus' failed healing in Mark 8. And later, we'll see, for instance, why Mark tells the story of that naked man in chapter 14. Stick around, subscribe. Please, by all means, let me know your thoughts. I do accept lavish praise, so don't hold back. Let me ask you this question. What was your answer? Which gospel would you read first?